Hi, Malaysia and followers from around the globe. I'm Wong Chun Wai. Welcome to another edition of my Facebook chat. Tonight, we have here Tony Fernandes, the Group CEO of AirAsia. AirAsia has presence in 25 countries and has over 22,000 staff. That's how big AirAsia is. It is an important part of the Malaysian economy because of its multiplying effect. But we know that 2020 has been a bumpy year, a turbulent year for AirAsia. He has lost many of his staff. Many of his routes are no longer been able to fly for its planes, and that we don't know how bumpy it will be. 2020 has been tough, but it has come to an end soon. We have only a few months left before we fly to 2021, so to speak. Tony Fernandes has his millions of followers, but as well as his critics. We will hear from him personally tonight on what it has been over the past 1 year. The pandemic, the weak market situation, ensure that it has not been easy for the aviation industry. And we know that AirAsia is no exception. Tony, let's now get to the point. Let's hear from you personally, what it has been like. Tony, let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose right now the important thing was to stabilize, reset, restructure, and get our top line going. I think we spent the last 4 or 5 months focused on cutting costs and restructuring the business. And obviously, thank God, we were able to start flying domestically, which has now got us some good revenue in Malaysia and Thailand, and slowly in Indonesia and Philippines. The second stage now is to restructure all our liabilities, leases, fuel hedges, and other creditors, which we're in the process of doing. And the third step will be international borders, which of course starts with Singapore and slowly opening to the right parts of ASEAN. On the other side, we've pivoted a lot of our business into a digital business. We now have a great logistics business called Teleport. We have a fantastic e-commerce business, 2 of them. Our shop, which is really travel retail, very much a duty-free business. And our food, which is more than just food delivery. It's fresh food, it's a few things like that. And finally, our fintech businesses are doing excellently. Big loyalty and big pay. So lots of positiveness. We don't have our heads in the sand. We're not giving up. We're not blaming anyone. It's for us to fix. And I thought I'd seen everything before with this virus or something else. But it's another chapter in another book, and hopefully there'll be a happy ending.
Tony, what will be the immediate green bubbles that we can see in terms of destinations? While the green bubbles have started to open up, more destinations have been added in, but the quarantine requirement when you fly in and you fly back to Malaysia, it is still a put off for most passengers. So can you tell us more about these green bubbles that's coming along the way beside those countries that you have named?
I think we've been very good at locking down, maybe not so good at unlocking down. And so, it's been easy to lock down, but coming out of the lockdown is much harder. How do you do it? People are worried about second waves, etc. But just to answer your question directly and then give you my own comments. Firstly, I think Singapore will be the first. Thailand maybe next. Parts of ASEAN. Obviously, if you look at, I'd much rather be in my position than some other airlines because we're flying to most of our areas we fly to are green zones. China, Macau, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Vietnam, Indochina, Thailand, Singapore. The red zones being Philippines, Indonesia, India. So most of our capacity is in green zone capacity. So I imagine those green bubbles will start. Exactly what those green bubbles are going to be, we don't know. At the moment, it's maybe a pre-test before you go and a test when you come back. I think green bubbles will have no quarantine. That's the good thing. But I don't think we can get away from testing and for the immediate future. But, just like initially, Kuala Lumpur was a red zone and Penang wasn't. But now anyone from KL can go to Penang, and there's no quarantine and there's no testing. Same with Sabah and Sarawak. When Sarawak had a bit of a spike, flights were cut down. Now it's back to a green zone. So I hope international is managed the way we have managed domestic travel, especially between Semenanjung and Sabah Sarawak.
Tony, there has been news reports that the AirAsia has obtained a 1 billion ringgit loan put up by local banks. Can you share with us the latest on that?
I can't because I'm bound by confidentiality, but the government's been very supportive. Obviously, it knows that airlines are probably the most affected, along with the hotel industry. And there's the Dana Jamin loan, which AirAsia is applying for. I can say that we've made very good progress in both the loan side and raising equity. And hopefully in the next 2 months or so, we can announce something positive, but it's looking very good. And it secures the future for AirAsia and the 24,000 jobs that are linked to AirAsia.
But Tony, how much do you think that you really need in terms of a loan? Would obviously that 1 billion ringgit may not be enough. Would you need something like 3 billion?
Yeah, I think if we can get between 2 to 2.5 billion ringgit, we're more than enough. Right now, we've had tremendous support from our lessors. We've had tremendous support from our bank counterparties for our hedging. If you take those two mechanisms out, we're cash flow negative, just about break even. So with those two capital raising exercises, we're good for a long time. And my target is to have enough cash to last us till the end of 2021. We don't know how long this thing will last, and will come up and down. The vaccines will come and go. So I'm foreseeing travel not returning to anything normal maybe this time next year.
What about the another press report that says that you may sell off 10% of the shares to a South Korean entity?
Again, I can't mention anything like that. It comes into the second part, which I said we're doing.
Just by my luck.
And we're doing equity raising as well. Together, I hope we can raise something like 2.5 billion ringgit, which will cover us until the end of 2020.
Tony, you know that you have over 22,000 staff, and that the human capital have always been really dear to your heart. You take a lot of pictures with your staff, you hang around with them from the bottom all the way to the top. Some of the lower ranking staff have managed to become pilots because you give them a chance. But the past months have been really painful ones for your staff because of the retrenchments. We have heard sad stories. How have been your staff in coping with this scenario, and you yourself?
Yeah, I mean, let's put myself first. I've obviously had many negatives in my life. Worst being QZ8501, and we lost 170 people on a flight. I took that very difficult. It was very hard for me. Having to make staff redundant is something I've not done in 18 years, and it's been incredibly tough. And my job now is to try and get this airline back so I can rehire as many of those people as possible. That's my commitment. Some will move on to other careers, which is great. But hopefully those who haven't found anything, I can rehire them back into the company that they love. The professionalism of all stars is unbelievable. You see many airlines having negative reactions from their staffs and pay cuts and job terminations. The professionalism and the number of notes I've had from my staff was so understanding. Of course, they would love to still have their job. But I can honestly say to you that in some ways it's made it harder because they've been so wonderful in understanding, supporting, and thankful for what we've done for them over the last 18 years. With the hope that they can come back to us one day. It is the toughest thing of COVID, without a doubt.
Tony, we were not even sure that even as AirAsia open up the skies and as he starts to fly, and as you say that no one would really know what will be coming. Would there be a second wave or a third wave, like has happened in the UK? For the staff, it's only a matter of waiting. Some have gone on to become food deliverers, Grab drivers. Are there any kind of reskilling for them or any options, which I understand that AirAsia has been moving on to other line of revenue in this period. Can you share with us some of the options they have been reading about? Food delivery, I think there was one, right?
Yeah, we've obviously, as I mentioned at the beginning of this interview, pivoted into digital businesses. And we're now reskilling many of our staff, cabin crew, engineers, even pilots. One of our pilots is now involved in our logistics business and remapping all of KL into better postcodes. We've rehired and reskilled about 250 people. Irene Omar has set up an academy called Red Beat Academy, which is also soon to be open to the public, where we are reskilling our staff into technologists, data scientists, data engineers, security experts, UX designers, and product people. So we have about 2,000 of our staff now being reskilled and upskilling themselves. And that is as important as when I set up AirAsia Academy 18 years ago for pilots. We're now doing it for technical staff. On top of that, we have counseling and job placement for our staff to assist them. Some of them are also temporarily doing other jobs such as customer happiness, etc. It is the single most important thing for me right now.
Tony, in terms of multiplying effects of the AirAsia to Malaysian tourism and its economy, how does it work? Like how much dollar which AirAsia gets, how much of it goes back to the people, the country, and to other sectors?
Yeah, a study was done by Khazanah. It's about 12 times multiplier effect. Malaysian tourism is now the second biggest GDP earner for Malaysia. It's about 13%. I think AirAsia is about 1.5 to 2% of that contribution. The multiplier effect is not just in tourism, it's in jobs, it's in education, it's in trade. A big part of that GDP is logistics, moving Malaysian goods for sale, goods to come into Malaysia, transit points. Then there's engineering services. AirAsia touches many parts of the economy.
Tony, we have only been reading about the impact of AirAsia to Malaysia, but you have presence in over 20 countries. What is the impact of AirAsia in these other countries?
In terms of importance, I mean, in Indonesia, we're the #1 tourist bringer. In Thailand, we're effectively #1 airline there. So two big impacts. In the Philippines, we've been growing to almost 30% of the market share. And we're smaller in India and Japan. But in ASEAN, we are very relevant and very important to the economy. And so we need to get it going again.
I'm trying to understand the basic function of the running of a company like AirAsia. An aviation company is obviously a very difficult business. Before even COVID-19, it was already tough. Okay, so in terms of operating an airline company, what is it that is different from other ordinary company? Can you share with us the difficult part of running an airline company?
I think the biggest part of an airline is the conditions we can't control. So sometimes it's oil price, sometimes it's war, sometimes it's natural disasters, tsunamis, earthquakes, and now many pandemics. I mean, we've had a few: bird flu, SARS, and now COVID. That's the toughest part. The second part is we're very much in the hands of the US dollar. A lot of our costs are in the US dollar. When I started this business, the ringgit to the dollar was at one point 280. but it was averaging about 330, 320. It's now 420. So that puts a lot of cost pressure on us. So those do two kind of extraordinary things from a financial standpoint: oil price and US ringgit, US dollar movement, and extraordinary things that are out of our control. An earthquake, a tsunami, a virus. These are the tough things that we can't really control.
And of course, the question of passengers, the people, and like all airlines, most of the travelers would want their refunds. And that there have been complaints that AirAsia have not been responding well to these requests for refunds. Your take, please.
It's a fair comment, and it's something that I'm not running away from. We've appealed to our customers while we're waiting to receive. We've lost 4 months of cash. Averagely in a quarter we could do 3 to 4 billion, and we were doing like 60, 70 million in a quarter. And so my number one job is to pay the salaries of my staff. And number two job is to stay alive. So we're asking for patience from our customers to give us time to recapitalize, to get our cash back, and we'll pay them with bonuses for their problems. And 80% of our customers actually have volunteered for a credit share. And some of that credit share we're going to allow to be used on other products, hotels, food delivery, etc. So we're working on it. But it's a fair comment, it's a fair complaint, and I'm being as transparent as possible. If I was to pay all the refunds back now, we may not exist. We need the loan, we need the liquidity to come in. And so, it's not that I'm trying to cheat anyone or not meet my obligations. We will give you much more for the money that we've put in there. We just ask for a bit of patience to get our business back, to get the cash balances back to where it was. It is a nightmare. I can also understand how people feel, but I thank the 80% of people who have agreed to take a credit shell, which we've now given for 2 years. We just need a little bit more patience, a few more months.
Tony, you know that beside the COVID-19 situation, 2020 has really been a rough year for you. Besides having to deal with regulators and partners, you also ran into legal entanglements over the Airbus situation, and as well as the run into a patch with the Indian authorities. How did you handle this legal entanglements? Was it tough?
The Airbus issue was especially disappointing, but we're dealing with it, and the truth is coming out. So I'm not overly concerned. Similar with India, we're dealing with it. I'll leave it in the hands of the regulators and stuff. And so, just the truth will eventually come out. So, fame is not a great thing sometimes, just to let you know. The more famous you are, people will find ways to bring you down. So, but it's just another one of my chapters in my life, and we'll handle it with professionalism, and eventually the truth will come out.
There was a analyst report by CIMB which painted a very negative picture of the forecast. It actually says that the price of AirAsia will be worth zero. What is your response to this very negative forecast?
First thing is, if you're going to write like that, don't write. Two, it was littered with emotion and really disrespectful of the 2,000 staff that are working so hard to call it a nightmare and stuff. It's not their fault that COVID is around. It's not their fault that Malaysian Airlines has received so much government support over the last 18 years that they're able to compete with AirAsia. But that's the way of the world. But this staff have done a great job. It's carried over 100 million people to places that they never dreamt of going. It's brought a lot of economic benefits to Malaysia. I thought the report was uncalled for. You can put it at 0 cents. That's okay. But some of the comments in the report hurt many people in AirAsia. And we're battling hard against lots of obstacles. And yeah, it's tough, but we'll fight through. I think I got a great board of directors, and I'm very optimistic of AirAsia X. And reports like that motivate me tremendously. I'm not someone that gets angry or sore or whatever. I read it and I take it in and I say, well, let's show him a thing or two. But I would just ask all analysts, it's a tough time for all these companies. And putting in one-liners and emotion like that is uncalled for when people are busting their balls to survive and to create jobs. 0 cents, I have no problem. That's your call. It's a fair market. But I thought some of the comments in the report were unneeded.
Tony, for a while, you stay away from social media. I noticed that you're back onto Instagram, and that why did you stay away from social media for a while? Did you felt that people were just harsh on you?
Yeah, no, harsh. My whole life has been harsh. Everyone's been harsh on me. You know, for 18 years, I probably led Malaysian businessmen in terms of maybe I was one of the leaders in social media. I embraced it first. Twitter, I got up to 1.4 million. But I felt in Twitter, there was too much fake noise. There were too many angry people. And the beauty of social media was being kind of trampled on. It was about transparency. It was about real news. It was about getting facts out. A lot of social media became fake news in Twitter. And just angry people who were faceless. And I hate facelessness. You know, you ask me questions, I'll answer it as well as I can. I'll stand up. I've been criticized many times. And I'll stand up and take that criticism. I don't hide behind an invisible name or a blocked name, you know. And so I thought social media and Twitter was getting nasty and had gone away from the concepts of what I thought it was about. And it was a lot of fake news as well. It was a fake news. In Facebook's instance, I just think they're morally wrong. And I had to make a stand, a small stand. It's a meaningless stand in reality to a massive corporation like Facebook. But I had to stand by principles. I thought what they did in New Zealand, where it took them half an hour before they switched off the shooting of the Muslims was disgraceful. I think what they've done to the Rohingyas in Myanmar and created so much hate is disgraceful. I think there are about 50 fake accounts at one stage, 150 fake accounts on Tony Fernandes, selling everything from Bitcoin to condos. And they make money from that because, you know, people pay them to put that site on. So I think as now it's happening, I was ahead of the curve. Now you start to see why people don't like Facebook and all the bad things that they do. So those things, I had a lot of issues with Instagram because it's owned by Facebook. But many people said, please stay, please stay, please stay. So I stayed for a while. But I can take criticism. That's no problem. You know me, 18 years, I've been whacked all over the place. Newspapers sell newspapers on me, sensationalized newspapers are not even sensational. Sensationalized stories about me to sell newspapers. That's part of life. You know, if you're well known, you're going to have to expect that. If you're well known, you're going to have to expect people who want to hate you and bring you down. It's not the reason of social media. The main reason is
as a public figure, there's something that you cannot run away from. The good and the bad with it that comes along with it.
You can be a public figure, full stop. So for me, it was more about fake news and irresponsibility of the platforms and putting money first between morality.
Tony, your relationship with Malaysian Airport perhaps seems to have improved. Previously, you had a problem with them saying that, look, KLIE2 should not be paying the same amount of money than KLIE1 because KLIE1 is much better and you felt that you were not given a fair deal. How has this relationship been patched up and why is it so?
I think communication and one of fairness. I think Malaysian Airports is a monopoly and so felt they could do anything they wanted to do. And, you know, now we have a management in there who's willing to listen. I think COVID has helped, to be honest. one of the positives of COVID is they need traffic now. So I think that, you know, we are talking to each other. And I think the CEO has made a big difference. The CFO is a new guy. And the rank and file of MAB have always got on well with us. It's basically sometimes board members, extra people who come in and make it all about myself, right? I mean, there are many people who dislike me. And so rather than talking common sense and put Malaysia first, well, let's try to screw AirAsia because they don't like Tony Fernandes. And hopefully that's ending. And we put our country first and our people first. It's not about what's good for AirAsia, what's good for MAS, what's good for Malaysian Airports, what's good for the people of Malaysia. And ultimately, when you put people first, we'll all benefit anyway. So I'm hopeful that this relationship, by no means have we cleared all our issues, but we're moving in the right direction.
Tony, you know, we have been discussing serious issues about the economy, serious issues about your company. And instead, I've been receiving hundreds of emails, mainly from young people. They're asking me questions which is totally, entirely away from what I've been asking you, okay? They're asking me questions like, now that the load of Asia is still not full when they travel, which means that the price of the ticket will still be costly. When will they be able to fly on tickets that will really be cheap to them again?
I think it's still cheap. But, you know, cheap is relative, right? So we're working on it, and my aim is, as I told my guys, fares were artificially low for a long reason because there was a lot of crazy competition. They may be slightly higher now, but I think they'll come back 2021. We will get our fares down. It's what I'm all about. I came up with a tagline, now everyone can fly. If I could allow everyone to fly for free and I just make money on food, then I'll do that. We want to get more people flying. So just bear with us, and we're all about pushing fares lower.
Tony, I actually got an email that says that, how did you meet your wife?
We're in Paris and in a restaurant, and you know, yeah, it's one of the happiest days of my life that I met her. She's brought a lot of stability and sense of purpose to my life. It's hard being married to me, by the way. It's not easy. So she takes a lot of credit for hanging in there, and I hope she's with me on my last breath as well. But she's made a big impact in my life. How
has she been supporting you or coping with all the stress and the problems that you're facing now?
Yeah, it's really hard. I think you have to ask her. But she's been a rock for me. And it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy being married to me. I can see how tough it is.
So Tony, is she forcing you to watch Korean movies? Korean dramas?
Not forcing, I have no choice. It's on.
Okay, I'm going to test you. Can you name me a few drama series that you're actually watching?
Name me loads. I'm not in the moment, but Crash Landing with me, Empire by the Sun. There's loads. Loads.
I'm watching this Korean drama.
They're enjoyable to watch.
Okay, that's good. So have you managed to pick up a few Korean words here and there?
Not many. But as the world knows, I'm not the greatest linguist in the world. I can hardly speak Malay. But I'm improving. I've just, I went to an English school when I was very young.
Went to an English school when I was very young.
Yeah,
of course, yes.
And so I never had a chance of learning Malay. But even when I was in school, I did, for most of my life, I learned French. I still can't put more than 2 sentences together. So I'm not blessed with languages. But I'm proud of where I am with Malay now.
How have you been coping with your exercise regime?
Yeah, it goes through up and down. I just did a bit of gym before I came on. It's tough. I hope you can see I'm a little bit thinner.
Yes. I'm
trying all kinds of things, intermittent fasting, keto. But, stress is is a huge weight aggregator. Azran, my former CEO, is a fantastic app called Maluri, which we're going to work with. Was telling me that that stress releases hormones, and when you're stressed, your body thinks you're in danger, so it gives you adrenaline to run away faster from the tiger, or cortisol, which says, okay, you're in a tough situation, we better build up your fat so you can survive this occasion, right? They don't realize stress has been caused by COVID or legal issues or whatever else, right? So losing that cortisol, one of the biggest ways of fighting stress is really sleep and exercise, so that cortisol is not released to your body and doesn't provide fat. So, and all the fat goes around my stomach. And, I look like all those Star Wars characters behind you, from R2-D2 to C-3PO to whatever, they're all thin. I look like Jabba the Hutt, So it's a challenge. I've failed many times, but I keep going, and I feel I'm almost kind of got into a rhythm where I can make a difference. I think diet is still the most important thing. Carbohydrates and sugar are the killer. So, going to do my best on that. I look like you.
Okay.
Look young, and never give up. But it's the one area that I failed quite miserably. But good thing is I haven't put on. In all these years when my metabolism is slowing down and a lot of stress, I could have been 110, 120 kilos, right? But I've maintained about 96, 97, and good times I've gone down to 94. But my aim is to break 90. Then, I could do a book on losing weight.
Tony, during the MCO period for 3 months, what were you doing?
Lots of Zoom calls.
Okay.
Really enjoying my time with my wife, spending a lot of time with kids. It was actually quite a good time to reflect and repivot the business, relook at my life, and it has been good.
Okay. Tony, I know that football is the last thing on your mind now. You probably would not want to talk about Queen's Park Rangers, but still I need to ask you, how is Queen's Park Rangers doing now? It's going down, unfortunately.
No, it's not going down. We like Cardiff, the two Malaysian teams. Cardiff's doing better than us, but I think Ruben and myself and Amit have really got the club into a sustainable future. I think we're one of the few clubs that can survive without constant shareholders' money. We built a great academy. We're going to produce a lot of young players. We finished 13th this season, our best season in the championship for a long time. We were doing really well, 6 points from the playoff before COVID. After COVID, our team just couldn't get into the momentum. The last few games, we beat the championship contenders, and so got a good team, got a good young team. I love football. It breaks my heart so many times, but you got to do what you do, right? I could be a much richer man if I didn't have all these crazy things. But life's not just about money.
True.
It's about doing something, living your dreams. I'm sure there are many Malaysian tycoons who think I'm mad, and then maybe I am. But we built a great brand. We built an amazing brand. No one can take that away from us. So AirAsia is one of the global brands from Malaysia, and there are not many. And in an airline space, for a Malaysian company to be so well known around the world and well respected, we did something. And sports played a big part in that, of that brand building. So, painful, expensive, but I'm glad I did it.
Tony, we're going to wrap this up, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for finding time. I know you're busy.
You've been a great supporter, Chunwan. You've seen me grow from 2 to 265, back to 2. We're like snakes and ladders. Started with 2 planes, go all the way up to 265, and now at one stage we were only flying 2 planes, one flying 0 planes. But, you know, like snakes and ladders, you get up to the top and then the ladder brings you down to the bottom. But the positive side is we've got a brand, we've got amazing all-stars, we've got people that support us, and a government that supports us. So nothing's impossible. We love the impossible, we love the challenge. And we get those red birds flying, and at the same time, we'll build a great digital business.
Tony, AirAsia is a Malaysian brand. We're celebrating National Day soon. Can we have a message from you for Malaysians for National Day?
Yeah, I mean, you know, well, first of all, happy National Day to everyone. Happy Merdeka. Independence is a wonderful thing. We're lucky. Yes, we complain. Yes, we have lots of issues. But, you know, I've been all over the world. And home is home. And Malaysia is a unique place. And we're peaceful. That's the biggest thing. We're peaceful. There are lots of things we can do better. But, you know, we've lived in peace. We've seen some bad times. But everyone generally is okay. We need to do much more on eradication of poverty. We need to do much more for racial relations. But overall, this is a great country to be in. So be proud of being Malaysian. Be proud of your home. Stand up tall. Look at how well we've handled COVID in the world compared to many, many westernized countries. And that isn't just because of the government. The government's done a great job. But because of us, we as people have been serious and responsible and taken heed and not complained too much. We've gone on and gone on about it. And we've shown the world that we're one of the leaders in eradicating COVID for the time being. So be proud of being Malaysian. Stand tall. We're as good as anyone in the world. That's what I always said to my staff. You know, it's not about protection. It's not about getting a free ride. It's about competing with the best in the world. And I think as Malaysians, we can be. So happy Merdeka Day. Have a great week. And stay positive. Don't blame the world. Make a difference yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. For those of you who are following this Facebook recording, this is a recorded version because of Tony's busy schedule. But please do post questions to us, questions which we will try to answer and send it back to you. Thank you so much. Stay with me next week, next Wednesday, same time. I will get Mr. Brian Liu, the owner of Tea Life. We will ask him about the business that he's in. The bubble tea has bust. So what's next? We want to hear from this young man, and we will try to get entrepreneurs to appear with me, and let's learn from each other, as particularly if they are Malaysian brands. Thank you so much. Happy Merdeka. Tony, you have been really cool to us. Thank you so much. Stay cool. To everybody else in the world, we catch up. Thank you so much.
Cheers, bro. Bye.
Yes.